Hello, welcome to this mini lesson from inside the PE portal. Today we are looking at commercialism and sponsorship, but mainly commercialism today. And what I want to start with is this: a triangle, but not just any triangle, the golden triangle, which has three different components to it, which sort of underpins this word of commercialism. So you might be thinking, what is commercialism? It's when anything is done for profit. I'll put there, for profit. And in the context of this lesson, and for what you need to know for your exam, it's for profit in sport. So when things are done by businesses, by individuals, by sport organisers, it's when they choose to do things where there is profit to be made. And this is financial profit, not social profit or charitable or reputation, whatever other ways that someone can profit, but we're talking pure financial profit and gains. And this golden triangle helps fuel it. So, what are each corners of this triangle? The first is the sport itself. The next, we have the sponsors, or we have the business. Sponsors, business. And then we have the media. And collectively, what these three different components of commercialism actually do is cause it's almost like an upward spiral effect. Okay, instead of a downward spiral where things can make things worse, it's a vicious cycle, this is a beneficial cycle. It's an upward spiral whereby if each of them can get better and each of them start to improve, then the whole system and setup starts to improve as well. So, what do each of these actually represent? Well, we're going to start off with media. So the media is when, or how I should say, how sport is shared. So what platforms and what forms of, or what mediums, which is where the word media comes from, the mediums through which sport and accomplishments and results are shared. So it might be TV, it might be radio, it might be social media, it might be YouTube, it might be Amazon Prime, it might be newspaper, magazines, whatever it is. But it's people employed to tell the story of sport and activity. And what this does is it gets eyeballs onto the sport. It gets eyeballs watching the sports performers. So what businesses decide to do, or sponsors, they attach or affiliate, I want to put attach brands to sport. They attach their brand to the sport that is being shared via the media. And in doing so, they're going to get eyeballs on their brand at the same time as people are watching the sport itself. So, what's sport got to do with it? Well, people are wanting to watch it, otherwise the media wouldn't bother sharing the news. So I'm going to put here, it's spectator worthy. It's exciting, it's interesting, it grabs people's attention, it takes their minds off of the mundanity of day-to-day life perhaps. It gives them something enjoyable to watch and feel a part of. It gives them a sense of affiliation if it's a team or a location or a nation. So spectators watch the sport, and we've looked at spectatorship already in this course. So people are watching the sport. Therefore, the media need to tell the stories that are happening within that sport. And in doing so, sponsors and business will pay in order to attach their brand to the sports that people are watching. Now, in order for people to actually watch the sport organisers, they need to increase the level of excitement. They need to increase the draw, the pull factor. So that might mean increasing the quality of the performance. It might mean adding some fireworks at the start of the event. It might mean putting on bigger and better and more frills and whistles types of events. That way people are more likely to attend, they're more likely to watch it, they're more likely to engage. It might be that the halftime pundits or the match analysis or the experts that weigh in, their quality of analysis gets better. They've got better tech to actually slow down play, watch it back, draw lines and get percentages and stats to paint a better, more detailed, more interesting picture of what the sport is. And if they do that, the media are more likely to cover it. And if the media are more likely to cover it, the sponsors and business are more likely to pay to attach their brand to sport. So we go back to our original definition. It's actions in sport where the intention is for profit. So why does a performer get better at their sport? Because they will profit from the money that the brands will pay for them to play. The brands are doing that, they're spending money because they intend to make profit on the back of the media showing their brand to potential customers, and they make sales. And the media are covering better quality sports people who have gotten better because of their monetary funding, because they'll be able to sell more stories because more people are wanting to watch the better sports. So you see we have this upward spiral effect. If one component wishes to get better, the other two will also need to get better. And if all three of them do, and they commit to this profit-making behaviour in sport, then all of them will get better and better and better and better, and larger, and more profit and more success will be experienced. But it's not all advantageous. So what we're going to look at now are some possible benefits and drawbacks to sport and the business. So, benefits. First of all, we can get athletes or performers who turn pro. They go professional. They can now do their sport full time. In doing so, they can commit more time to training and they can get better. They can get better facilities. Businesses who pay the big bucks and they give it to a club or a team or a training facility to perhaps name it after their company. They're paying for world-class facilities and the people who use them will get better. The viewing quality will get better. The overall experience will improve. Therefore, the media will cover it more so. Therefore, the brands will benefit from more custom. So they can turn professional. The facilities and the equipment might be able to get better. Travel, entrance fees, the equipment that they use, it can all be funded by the money that brands put in. So the performers in the sport, they get better, they get more time, they can go into more competitions. It's less of a financial struggle for them to actually be involved with sport. The larger overarching one is that it is an incentive. Anyone who is vying to become elite or professional at sport, there's a financial incentive to do well. Because if they can crack the 0.1% of performers, then they can experience huge financial upside. They can get their life paid for, they can earn huge signing bonuses or sponsorship deals, which is life-changing money for some people, for a lot of people, for most people. But what are some downsides? They now have obligations. They've been bought. They're not getting money for nothing. They're expected to perform. And it might mean that they have to become perhaps a brand ambassador and they need to complete adverts or different press conversations. They need to use certain equipment that people have paid for them to use, even though they might not want to use it, which you'd argue is that actually in good faith. So they are now obliged to listen and perform for the brand who've given them money. If they don't, they might break their contract and they might lose out. I'm also going to put here temperamental. It could be very short-lived because an injury or a run of bad form, that might switch lots of brands and businesses off from wanting to put money into their performances. If someone in running, let's say, breaks a leg and they can't run anymore, well, they've lost their skill, they've lost their livelihood. If they can't perform and get in front of the media because they're successful, brands aren't going to pay them. They're going to be attached to a losing athlete or an athlete that's not performing. So it's very temperamental. It might be short-lived. It's risky income. What about then for the sport itself? Or the sponsors itself, the sports and sponsors? Well, the sport might need to change. Oh, no, we'll say that for the negatives. The benefits are increased consumerism. Now, that's the whole point of commercialism in sport. The businesses, the brands, they benefit from profits. They might become affiliated, or linked, to promoting a healthy, active lifestyle. I think it's Aldi. They've just spent lots of money becoming attached to Team GB. I think it's Aldi or Lidl. I always get the two confused. But they've spent lots of money sponsoring and becoming attached to Team GB. So they're now a homegrown supermarket. They're almost the picture of the national squad. And it's the national squad for sport, exercise and performance. So they're changing their reputation to becoming not just a supermarket, but a supportive and national brand. The downsides, however, they might become linked to scandals. So when a performer is caught in a drug doping scandal, or they're in the press for bad relationships or fiery whatever, then the brands that are linked to them also get that bad exposure as well. Now there is the saying that no press is bad press. All press is good press, whatever it is. But they're still being linked to a negative action, a poor role model, and that could damage their reputation. I'm going to put damage rep. Another downside is brands might spend so much money that they have influence to change sport. There might be advert breaks because they've spent so much money that they want their ads to roll at certain points. So money can change the actual sport. There's now advertising boards around pitches. Different things on clothing might confuse the refs or the players if there's different colours. The advertising boards might get in the way. The advert breaks. The paint on the floor. I'm just thinking on not football pitch, the rugby pitch. Big brands get their logos painted onto the floor. So then when there's a tackle or a scrum or a ruck that happens on that paint, suddenly all of the kit's getting covered in a different colour. Not a huge change, but still a change. It's starting to move away from sport for being sport to now businesses deciding how things run. So, quick recap. Commercialism is for profit in sport. 3 different components: the sport, the media, and the sponsors or businesses putting the money in. Together they can form this upward spiral. Why? Because sport is watched. The more watchable it becomes, the more the media will want to share it. The more the media wants to share something, the more sponsors or brands will pay to get in front of the audience. If they do, they're more likely to benefit from consumerism, get some more profits. They might be able to improve their brand reputation by linking it to stylish performers, or perhaps linking to healthy, active lifestyles, but the reverse is also true. Scandals can damage their brand reputation. They might start to change sport negatively, which might start to impact how watchable it is. But for the performers, it's a fantastic incentive. A great reason for them to train, to turn up, to get better, to earn a fantastic living. It might pay for their travel, their entrance fees, their brand new state-of-the-art facilities, but the trade-off is obligations. They have to do what the sponsors want them to do if they want that paycheck. And then temperamental. If they break a rule, if they break a leg, if their form drops off, then the sponsors might start to pull out. And that is commercialism in sport. So I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.